Hey, so one of the more popular types of personality type theory is MBTI. It's based off of Carl Jung's cognitive functions, and it's basically another tool for us to understand ourselves better. It's basically the psychological or mental processes in which we perceive the world and how we make decisions. I feel like understanding this, aspect of ourselves, this the understanding of personality types, is no different from understanding our family medical history, let's say, because it helps us to make better and informed decisions about ourselves, about our lives, how to live it, and what path to take. And so, understanding this aspect of ourselves or personality type can be really helpful. But then what happens, right, when the ego takes over? What happens when the ego starts to get its sense of false self through these personality types, right? And if you're not familiar with Eckhart Tolle's definition of the ego, it's basically when you identify with form. And in this case, it would be when you basically get your sense of self from identifying with these personality types. I remember seeing online, there are so many AI videos about how special INFJs are, how rare and unique and blah, blah, blah it is. And it's really just ridiculous because my personal experience from my childhood and my experiences growing up, I feel like being an INFJ in this world can be quite a burden. I definitely identify more or resonate more with the idea of being an unhealthy INFJ. And so I'm working on my healing journey with that. But I feel like it's more of a hindrance, if anything, because I feel like the cognitive functions and the qualities of it, make it so much harder to function in this world. I remember when I was younger, I was working in customer service, and I was going to be going on this trip with a friend, and we had another friend that was considering coming with us as well. And he admitted to me later that he had spoken to some mutual friends, and they were asking him oh, are you sure you want to go traveling with Michelle? She's always so tired and that blah, blah, blah and all that stuff. And so, it kind of just whoa, right. I didn't understand at the time. I didn't understand anything about personality types. I didn't understand anything about energy management. And I was just so burnt out, living the life the way that I did. Basically working in customer service full time, socializing with my friends. I was just constantly on the go, constantly doing, and it really did burn me out. And so I was always tired. And so I was going on this trip, and he admitted to me later, but he said he was happy that we went traveling together because I wasn't as tired as he had expected me to be. And so another way that the ego can kind of come in and take over is that it kind of brings in this superior inferior dynamic, right? It's almost like us versus them, even, where it's this personality type is better than the other, and this personality type is less than the other. And so it brings on this whole dynamic of just being more special, like I said earlier, with being a certain type or whatever, and looking at it in a special way or whatever, or feeling like you're above another personality type or below another personality type. I think this is where, it kind of unconsciously makes us judgmental of other ones. And that's where the ego is in play, right? Because it's always needing to compare itself to others. And so I remember, growing up, I was around a lot of, I guess, sentinel or guardian types of personalities. And I didn't know it then, because when I was younger, in high school, I had no idea about personality types. And so I just remember feeling so frustrated all the time, because I just felt like things I would talk about, things I would say, people would never understand or never really get it, or didn't see what I saw. And it was just really frustrating, kind of feeling that all the time. And so even though I was always around people, it was the most alone I'd ever felt. And so just growing up in that type of environment definitely made me feel alone and then misunderstood. So that was kind of a challenging chapter in my life. And one of the lessons that took me a long time to learn and to realize was that not all advice is created equal. I remember in my early 20s, I got into personal development and was really into it. And the advice that I was listening to and tried to implement just did not work for me. Like, I thought that I had to hustle harder. I thought that I had to do more, and I just couldn't get myself to do as much without feeling like I wanted to shoot myself. So I, thought that there was actually something inherently wrong with me. I thought that I just wasn't good enough and that something was just wrong with me, that, I was constantly self-sabotaging. I remember hearing not too long ago that, someone was saying, you either have hustle or you don't. And I'm like, yeah, understanding personality types now, I'm kind of like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because we all have our certain strengths and weaknesses. And some people definitely have more hustle than other people. And I was trying to be the person to have more hustle when I really did not have any, especially with the way that I was living my life, being constantly burnt out and stuff. I just couldn't just do more, right? And so I was taking wrong advice from different personality types, not realizing that they were different personality types. I just thought that, I didn't even know that that whole thing existed. And so I thought that I just wasn't doing enough and falling flat on my feet and just constantly going in circles. And so having this tool to kind of understand myself better has definitely helped me be more compassionate to myself and also compassionate with other people as well, because I definitely see now that there are kind of more psychological strengths and weaknesses that we can't fully control, in that sense that we can definitely work on it and everything, but there is going to constantly be a natural tendency towards a certain route. And if we can honor that, that will be great. But if we decide that we want to work on, let's say, our weaknesses, we just have to understand that it might just take a little more effort and be a little more challenging at times. And so I think too, just being able to kind of be at ease more about myself and understanding that, my personality type probably has a lot to do with it, and to kind of know what my strengths and weaknesses are and to understand them better, because I think, you can use this as a tool to better yourself. It's about understanding ourselves. It's about kind of knowing which way we can go with it and everything. This is definitely a key to self-awareness and growth. But I think it's really important that to understand and to remember that it's what you do after with this knowledge that counts the most. And so, yeah, I guess that is everything for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.